Time for another super exciting revelatory product review. This one is for the Staedler watercolor crayons. Now, originally and initially, I was buying these Caran dash or Caran dash, however you say it. Excuse my ridiculous formulation of languages. These are great. I think this costs $45 or $50 for a box of crayons. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at, these Staedlers. These Staedlers were 18 bucks. Now I haven't opened them, so let's open them. They've got a really yucky case. There's nothing to keep them in. There's no tin, so you're not paying for anything. This is how they come. This is how they look. Yeah, I don't know. The people showed the boxes. It's like, whatever. It's just going to go in the garbage probably. So here's a piece of foam, I guess, to stop them from bouncing around. And here they are. So first off, first blush, they look pretty chintzy. If I look at a Caran, now the colors here are different because I have customized. I buy these. So they're about the same diameter. They're a little shorter. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some throwdowns, and then I'll throw some washes, and maybe I'll scribble with them for a bit. But before I get into the Staedlers, which are about 18 bucks on Amazon, and in retail I've seen them for that lower price too, or 17. Let's pick a few vibrant Carans here. You see I've got this beautifully documented legend that I put together. So let's look at the Carans, and let's pull a few down. So these do split fast if you put too much pressure, but I like the way they feel. I like the way they act. The Carans, they're nice and loose. They're great on different papers, and you'll see when I get the washes activated here how fun they are. And because these are so expensive, and I don't use them in much capacity because I hesitate because I don't want to waste them, so I'm kind of covet them at 40 bucks a box, or I don't know, $3 or $4 a piece, whatever. You can buy them individually at some stores. Anyway, let's just do. You can see this one split on me here, which is really frustrating. You get in the mood and get too excited about scribbling something down, because you got a gesture going, and then bingo bango. So I'm just going to put this here so you can see how they kind of blend together with the yellow. So first I'll do is tell you that. See, they can come down with quite good coverage. If I do it here, see if you press, and I think that's on camera. I should probably check. You can see how you can get this crayon-y type feel, waxy feel, or you can push it right in. Now I don't think these are oil-based because they're water, obviously. So there's the Caran throwdown. Now let's try these, the Staedlers. I'll try to do whatever colors are in the kit that match. So let's try this red. Again, I don't know what to expect. Hey, that's not bad. Seems a little bit more chalky, but it seems to go down pretty good. I'm sure that they're not light fast, but this seems to be kind of a hard thing to follow. If you want to get into light fastness and spend hours researching that, you can do that. But I don't think these are. There's no comment of them. But I don't think there is with the Caran dash either. Whatever they're called, the neo colors. They're called neo colors. I'll say that because it's easier. So that's a nice rich, I guess what you'd call an ultramarine. This is the bright green. Now they come in different colors, different kind of color roundups. There's another vibrant one that I saw. This one doesn't go on as well. It's not very even. It's got this kind of build up thing. Let me just see. Maybe. I don't know. That's kind of crap. Now from a purple standpoint, it doesn't look like I got a purple in this set. So let's try this other blue, for lack of a better. Yeah, see, they're a little scratchy, and then when you go over them and press hard, I guess they do kind of put they do take a relatively flat texture. Now that one seems to go down all right. Let's picking up some of the other color already. Okay, now this is Bristol, so this is the wrong paper to be using for this. For some reason, I decided to put a backing down on my videos with this really expensive Bristol because I have no real purpose for it. I was originally going to use it for screen printing or printing lino cuts, but it's too thick. Okay, so let's get back on track here. I got some relatively clean water. Let's test out the washes. So the Carons, I kind of know how they go. They're pretty good. You can see how they can really pull. They blend. I'll blend it back. It's kind of muddy. All right, let me clean it again, and we'll go in again with this. So you get the idea with these. Here's the green. And again, you kind of have to work to pull these in. Like if I take, I'll do it with the Staedlers because this is about the Staedlers, not the Carans or the new colors. So they go pretty flat. The tooth here, you know, in the paper isn't really helping, but it gives you a good idea if you're using a hot press or something. So you can see that the white really clouds things. If you have a lighter tone and you put it over and you mix it, it can really kind of cloud the pigment of the other ones, which I guess is fine once you learn how they react. So let's try the Staedlers now and see. So the red, all right, seems to have a little more granulation. Not bad though. That's pretty punchy, that color. Maybe because I got more pigment down. Let's see here, the green. I don't really like the way the green laid down, but I kind of like the way the washes pull. I don't know. For the purpose of it, they might be okay. I got to try them in my sketchbook. That looks pretty limp. Yeah, that white tone didn't really, or that lighter tone. Anyway, it's a 10. And remember, you're looking at like half the cost, right? 18 to 45 or something. And then this, I guess it's like a phthalo blue. Huh. You know, that's not bad. I'm kind of impressed with the pigments overall for the Staedler ones, even though I don't know how to spell Staedler, as you can see the way I drew it there. Let's just mud them together here and see what we get from a harmony standpoint. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But, you know, a lot of these, you don't use them this way. You would. See here, you're going to get the same thing. And of course, I'm affecting the two of them. But it's kind of, the Caran d'Ache kind of have a schmanky watercolor feel, or schmanka, if you know what those are. They're really nice tight pigments, but they're not super intense. The Daniel Smith pigments, I think, are a little bit better. Let me just try working these over a little bit here for interest's sake. Now, this is still wet, but let's just do something goofy. Let me see if I was, watch I don't break these. Just do something that put them to a bit of a test here. Alright, let's get this going. Oh, that's a red. I thought it was more of a brown. Anyway, that's fine. Here's brown here. Let's try this. Oh, you can see the white's not going to come through there probably. Anyway, give me a minute. Maybe I'll speed this up a little so you don't have to listen to me. So the idea here is to kind of show you how they go together. They're pretty stiff. They're not as oily. Well, they're not oil based, but they don't seem to be as malleable. They're more like a chalky crayon. They really feel that you can feel the wax when you scrub with them. That's a really strong blue. Let's try this one. Like I said, bear with me. Okay, let's hit it with, let's cheat with the black. I don't really like using black, but They did give me a white, or a white came in this set. I like the way they muddy. That it'll be a real telltale heart once we throw the wash on these. I'm gonna just try to use this yellow for a bit of a highlight. Again, I'm really pushing it here, so. Okay, let's throw some red in here. Too many hues going now. I'm surprised there was no violet or purple. I guess, you know, because they gave you 2 blues, 2 greens, a brown and a black, a yellow and an orange, and a flesh. All right, let's see. Let's put the white. I bet you this is going to be not cool. Not bad. Hit it with a wash, it'll get lost. Alright, I'll use the water within limits, then we'll do some wet on wet. So far, that sketch is looking pretty lumpy. Let's just try this for a bit. See how we go. Again, the black is too dominant. I probably shouldn't have. So I'm being very trepidatious with this right now. It's looking like a real muddy mess. Let's see here. Don't give up till you know for a fact that it's not going to work. Well, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I really muddied things up. Let's hit it with the yellow now that it's a bit wet. Oh, hey. I think it's scratching through. But that's kind of a good thing. That's my paper. The paper is saying, no, I don't want to absorb any more of that. So, you know, do I like it? For $18? Maybe. Do I like the effect? I'm not really liking how this has turned out. Try the white. You know, when you get to a point like this where you're working with something and you're looking at how it's going, I get this urge to pull a different medium or another pigment and say, something's got to rescue this shit because it ain't going down the way you want it to go down. Not because of the ability, just because of the way the medium's reacting. Let's try something stupid here and try to scrape some of this off to give us a highlight. So you can see the sediment there. It's just wax mud. And I guess this is my fault because I just threw all these colors together. But knowing pigments a little more than the average Joe or Jill, I would say these are pretty muddy. But you know, they might be okay for washes, doing weird shit in mixed media books. It's not that bad. This is kind of crappy, this stuff. Let's see if I can pull the eyes back. You know, it has a certain illustrative quality and style. No? I guess. But to go over it now, what will happen? Maybe you need to let it dry. But remember, my paper has no tooth. I'm scraping and then wiping it on a paper towel to clear it off. The Olfa Touch Knife is actually doing a pretty good job of bringing this back from what it was. A big mud storm. It's still very muddy. Okay. Do I love it? Do I think it's the best medium? You know, I think it's pretty entry-level shit. Excuse my French. I think I'd have to say that. It'd be better to go with the Caran. But you give them a try. I wouldn't buy these and say, oh, this is how all these are going to operate. Because, you know, the Carans have really high, bright, beautiful pigment stuff going on. Now, like I said, maybe I just blew it here because I overkilled all the media by putting colors that cancel each other out. So, you know, let's see over here. There it is over the wash. It's a nice effect with the white. Do you see there's that muddy, looks like squirrel shit. That brown. See, the crayons are nice with the wash in the background. So you can get some different effects. This is an overwork, but if you go here, and if I pull this, let's pull this juicy blue right here. Again, I will stop torturing you with this drawing because you're not going to be learning much from this. Oh, see, the mud is still in there. I didn't clean my brush enough, and then it's picking it up. Well, let's try this. What happens if you do this? So there's the color of my, I don't know if this is going to work. I know that Daniel Smith make a watercolor stick. Let's test the pigment out like that, and then, oh, that's all right. Okay, so anyway, you get the gist. I made a muddy mess, but that's okay. I'm kind of pushing the limit here. Let's see, just for fun, I can get my water relatively clean, how the white works with that kind of a deal. You know, not that you should be relying on white for rescuing you from tonal values and building your values and tones. You shouldn't have to rely on overpainting things with white. That's, I don't know, almost like a blender. You get the gist of what's going on here. Maybe I can resurrect this. So it kind of gives you an idea how to use these, or want to use them, or different ways to use them. But again, I think it's very muddy. So, you know, well, I would use these recklessly, meaning I wouldn't try to retain them. Like, oh, I gotta covet these, and they're such beautiful pigments, and oh, I better not, you know, cover a whole page of my sketchbook with the white because I'm gonna need it. But look at, I'm actually rescuing this a little bit, for lack of a better word, with the white. Kind of impressive. So if you did just have a dry bag and didn't, dry bag, that's a nice word. If you didn't bring watercolor, well, you'd still need water to do this. So, but if you didn't want to bring watercolors and you just wanted to bring a few markers or pen, a few of these crayons, you can use as crayons and then do this. So it kind of brings it around, eh? Okay, now we'll do one final thing. Excuse me for that. Should have had some breakfast, I guess, before I did this video. All right, so there's that. Now let's do this. We're not going to wait. Just going to throw some black in here. Like cheat. Again, cheating with the black. Not bad. Bringing it around. See, when it gets to that nice, when they're semi-soft and there's a bit of water, your paper's a bit damp, the crayons have a little more give, just like the Carans. They operate pretty well the same. Put it too hard of an edge under that chin, so I'll try to blend it out of it. That gives you an idea. I'm overworking it as usual. So there you go. There it is. The remarkable and wonderful review of these guys. Which, yeah, I wouldn't write home about them. Okay, so there you go. Probably, you know, if you're going to spend 20 bucks on these, you might want to save till you got another 20 bucks to unload and buy the Carans. You'll be a lot happier with the pigments, I think. But, you know, these are good to have in your arsenal if you don't want to, you know, spend $100 on watercolor crayons. All right, have a good day, and thanks for watching this delightful review.